Hello, this is Dr. Stephen Evans from Outclick Magazine. Today we are welcoming Shiling Wong and Cole Jenkins, who is in a new fun TV show on Reverie TV called, bring it up, let's see, Life is Easy.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
You all are in New Zealand, is that correct?
Yes,
That's
it's
right.
9 a.m. here. We both just woke up.
Down the bottom of the world.
They just woke up and they're having their coffee. It's 5 p.m. here. So tell us about your TV show, it's not a TV show, but the online programming that's coming out. Tell us about it and the premise of the show. It looks fascinating. I saw it before.
Yeah, well, so it's called Life is Easy. It's a comedy body swap web series, kind of Freaky Friday styles. It's about two best friends, Jamie Lee and Curtis. You might get the reference there.
Okay.
Who know each other really well. They've been friends since high school, and they believe that they are pretty much the same person. And during some crazy events on their 25th birthday, they end up swapping bodies. And then the series carries out over a week of them being in each other's bodies, figuring out each other's lives, and they kind of realize they're not quite as similar as they thought due to things like their gender and their sexuality and their race. So, yeah, that's basically in a nutshell.
You switch with each other. What did you learn about each other during the show, the taping of the show?
I think the show is very much inspired by our real lives because we are best friends and we have known each other for a really long time. But we both do this thing where we try and, because we love each other so much, we try and present a perfect version of ourselves to each other. And I think the making of the show was no different. I think we both tried to really, it was the first time we've ever made a long form narrative project, the first time we'd ever got an amount of funding to do so. But we just had to be really vulnerable with each other, and there was a lot we didn't know how to do. And I think it actually made our friendship a lot deeper, because when you're both in the deep end together, working for a long time on a project that feels so high stakes, you just have to open up to each other. And I think there was no room for those kind of dynamics within the setting, it was just honesty first all the time, which was actually really great.
And when was the show filmed?
We filmed it in May 2019. So quite a while ago, and then we obviously did pickups and stuff throughout the year, and it took actually quite a bit longer than we expected because we had to reshoot a bunch of stuff. But I mean, that's how it is. But yeah, so over a year ago.
Days of footage that we shot in the pool sequence.
Yes.
What happens.
Yeah.
Yes. So what advice do you have? Would you give somebody who wants to create content and wants to be in this kind of setting and create this kind of setting? Of course, let's assume maybe this is a post-COVID world. What advice would you give them in creating something like this?
I think especially in New Zealand, the opportunities are so small and no one's going to come knocking on your door. So the whole reason that this got made is that there was no particular pitch round or funding opportunity that sort of came up that was advertised publicly. But because I had a few contacts at TVNZ, we just came up with the idea, made a pitch, and approached them just kind of like a cold call. So I would say to just go for it, because we were really prepared to make it anyway. If we didn't get programmed by TVNZ, if we didn't get funded by New Zealand On Air, we still would have done it anyway.
Okay.
And I think we've done that with most of our projects, which kind of put us on a level that we actually had some stuff behind us because we'd done that, and that's kind of our jam. Just very Kiwi attitude, actually, like a DIY.
Yeah.
Number 8 wire, do it yourself.
Yeah. What's your favorite episode? And why is that?
Oh.
Do you have a favorite episode? I know those are hard questions to ask.
Yeah.
I like the last one because it's got a lot in it that you don't expect.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good twists and turns.
Yeah.
There's go ahead.
I really like episode 2 at the Tenesake match. That was just a lot of fun to shoot, and it was like, I think that was a really beautiful example of how we wanted the show to look and feel. It was big and bright and silly and fun, and when you encounter that in episode 2, you're like, oh wow! So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So how did the show come about? Who was it who's tell us about the writing of the show?
Well, I believe the idea kind of spawned from like a night out. We probably had a few drinks, and Chai Ling was like, "I've got this idea for a show. What do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's great." And then it kind of sat with us for a little while, and then when we got the opportunity to pitch it to TVNZ and that sort of thing, we're like, "Oh well, why don't we try flesh this one out a bit?" And so we did, and they liked it. And then it was kind of a strange process because originally we were just trying to get a little bit of money so we could develop a script. That's all we wanted, and that's what we were pitching for. But there was a change in changing of the guard within New Zealand On Air, and it meant that their development funding round basically got scrapped, and it just went straight to production funding. And so New Zealand On Air, who was our New Zealand, the word just escapes me. Chai Ling, help. Broadcaster. There we go. As our local broadcaster, they said, well, we're going to try just putting this forward for full production funding. So can you do a full production budget and pitch and outline and everything? And then we had to go, oh, okay, we better get a producer then. So yeah, it was kind of...
We had to turn that around in about a month, I think. Yeah. So we went from a development, basically like treatment outlines, to 3 episodes and a budget that was like $300K with all the timeline and everything in a month, which was a huge stretch.
Yeah.
But we just, didn't sleep for that month and just locked ourselves in a room and kind of went crazy. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. This is the trailer we've got up. This is hilarious. Okay, now I want to see how you filmed that.
Oh man. Well, we really wanted to challenge ourselves with some things in the shoot, and I had never done nudity on camera. We really wanted to be body positive and sex positive and everything, so I just kind of wrote a bunch of challenging things that I was like, oh, I'll give it a go, and then they made it into the final cut.
It's funny on paper. I'll deal with it on the day.
Yes, it was kind of like that, and then on the day. But we had everyone was very, very professional. We had an intimacy coordinator as part of the process, and just made everyone on set feel really safe. So it was never awkward. It was just fun and silly, which was what we wanted.
Now, when you tape the dance scenes, do you tape them with no music and then dub the music over?
Yeah, so the director will play a banging track just before the take to get everyone in the mood, and then we'll shoot a version with 0 sound, which is the most awkward thing in the world. And then with some particular shots like the wides and when we're not, coming from dialogue or going into dialogue, we'll have music. But yeah, it is that scene was great because we're a low budget production. So but we also wanted to involve as much of the community as we possibly could. So we called on all our queer POC friends to come fill out the club, and so many people came, so many more people than we thought. And we had food for them, but that was about it. And they just hung out, stole the show for a few hours and then went on their way, and now they're part of it, which is awesome.
I remember there was another show, I won't name it, there was a show they talked about being in a club, and they said when they had a club full of people, there was no music and all the actors were trying to dance to the same beat, even though there was no music playing to the same beat. And they said that was one of the hardest things to tape because you are talking and they're having to tape your dialogue without obviously the music in the background, and the extras are having to dance to no music and keep the beat together. So
yeah, it was fun though. Once we got to the mass dancing where we're all involved, when the director was playing the track to like get everyone amped, everyone just kind of picked up on that and started chanting and starting their own like beats and stuff. So by the time they turned the music off, everyone was just together and chanting and cheering, and it was exactly the energy that we needed.
Yes. Now, do you have any any behind the scenes stories that you're allowed to share that are fun, or any? I've worked in music, and so I always ask people, do you have any fun stories of anything that you can share that doesn't divulge any information from anyone that's private?
Probably.
I think the thing that sticks out to me the most was the most like hilarious and awful day was that we I think we lost a location, or we had to shoot at a location like twice, where we thought we would only be there once. And this particular location, some of them were paid, some of them were favors from friends. This was a favor from a friend, and we had already pushed that favor kind of to the limit. But because of what we'd shot and what we got and, you know, various things, we had to shoot again at that same house. And so we were like, can we please come back? And it was already like a very strained, you know, relationship at that point. They'd had a whole film crew for like a day or two in their lounge, everywhere, in their bedrooms. And that particular day, a pipe had burst, and there was a literal river of shit
Oh no!
the driveway.
It was awful. It was so awful.
And then you add to that like 20 plus cast and crew who are like piling in and trying not to like tramp the shit everywhere. The bathroom was fucked. It was like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, because that was right towards the end of our like pickups as well. So we kind of
everyone
thought we'd had everything, and
yeah,
that was fun, glamorous.
Yeah. And also, like as Charlie mentioned before, losing an entire day's footage was very stressful, because we then had to reshoot a full day, which fortunately insurance covered that, so that was good. Lucky our producer got insurance, but
insurance covered the emotional damage.
I know. It just happened to be the most complicated location to shoot in, because it was at a indoor swimming pool. So which I think we were able to get for free because we're using it after hours, but we didn't realize, but obviously our DOP did, and Saudis and everything, you have to climatize all the equipment to the space that you're shooting in. So they had to come in early. They had to make sure everything was, you know, sorted, so there wasn't going to be fog on the lens or anything like that. And we had to do that twice. And that was just very stressful. And again, it was one of those relationships that we kind of like were pushing to the limit with this pool.
Yeah, we go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, to counter those awful stories, there was a nice story that we have around the casting of Red's baby. So she, Kylie Cushman, the actor who plays Red, who's the boss at Jamie Lee's workplace, she came in and she couldn't find a sitter for her baby on the day. And she came in, she was super apologetic, and she was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I've got to have my baby. I'll just put it over here. And, you know, it's a very well-behaved baby. And we were like, okay, that's fine. You know, she did the audition, she nailed it. And then she left and she was super apologetic. And then we get an email from her agent being like, she would love to audition again. She was very distracted because the baby was there and she would love another go. And we were kind of in the back of our minds, like, we've kind of already cast her. Like, we're pretty sure we want her, but we admire her, you know, gusto. So we let her audition again. But in between then and the second audition, we kind of all fell in love with the baby and the idea that this badass boss lady just had her baby around like our prime minister does it currently. And that it would kind of flip some of those narratives around women and power, having children and having to choose between one or the other. And so we asked her if we could include her baby in the show, and she said yes. So it was kind of a happy accident.
Is that the scene where you're holding up the baby is that the baby that you're holding up in that scene?
Yeah.
That's so great. Tell us a little bit about what the show says about sexuality and some of the undertones of that. I think that's really interesting. Because of what you learned in the role reversal, and if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we wanted to we didn't want to shy away from all the stuff that was just really obvious life life things that people of different genders experience and different sexualities experience. So we just wanted to include as much of that as possible while being, you know, realistic, but also funny, and not shy away from things that people might find some people might find a little bit like too much, like getting your period for the first time, or masturbating in a different body, or what things you want to try with that sort of thing. So we really enjoyed incorporating all those things into the script.
It's a really funny show. I've watched it. It's really funny. I highly recommend watching it. We're gonna pull up the page again so people can see it. Arthur is helping me in the background, who pulls up my pages, but we're gonna pull it up and show people. But it's just really like a fun show. You all have done a great job with it. Yeah, it's a good sit back. So what I'm telling people when they watch this kind of content is get a Chromecast or an Apple TV or something and watch it on the big TV. I know there's an app for it, but rather than just watching on the computer or the phone, put it up on the big TV and watch it. And this is one they can binge watch. The episodes are short enough that you can binge watch them, but long enough they obviously keep your attention. But that makes a big difference in making a night of it. Watch it on the big TV.
Yeah, no, I agree. Our directors and our DOP put a lot of work into making it look really beautiful and bright and colorful and expensive. So it's made for the screen.
Very cool. Very good. Tell us a little bit, a little snippet about what's life in New Zealand like. I've never been there.
Very liberal.
Okay.
Comparative to America right now. It's honestly, we feel really lucky, super grateful. Like I wake up every day and I'm like, this is insane. I get to go to work. I'm working on New Zealand's only and longest running soap at the moment. It's a hospital drama. And I get to go to work and there's like cast and crew and we're all working and no one's wearing masks because we don't really have any community transmission of COVID in our country. Okay. So at the moment, it feels like a dream. It feels really surreal. Day to day, it's pretty chill. I think the biggest thing that everyone's worried about is obviously jobs, especially in the tourism sector. The entertainment industry is really interesting right now because we are one of the safest countries to come and work in. If you quarantine for a couple of weeks, I think our government is trying to encourage, or will eventually be encouraging more international crews to come and work here. So we've got Avatar working here. We've got a couple of pilots that got picked up from last year that are being shot. And hopefully that's going to bring in a lot of work for us and help the industry survive. But it's kind of, strangely, it's never been a better time to be an artist right now. Because we're one of the only places who can actually make art. I think our government is very liberal and arts focused at the moment. So for us, it's kind of crazy. I'm writing a feature working on a soap of Cole and I are working on a horror show together.
Okay.
So yeah, it's popping off at the moment. Very grateful.
That's great. One of the things is how people are going to produce content in this kind of COVID world in our environment. It's interesting to hear how they're doing it in New Zealand. That's amazing. Well, we're going to pull up the website again. It's really been fun talking to you all. This is what great content this is, and it's kind of so out of the box thinking and way to do and produce content. And this show is just really hilarious. You all are just really funny in the show. And I'm really glad to get to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Reverie TV. We've got the websites listed up there. And so we get to see you in person and talk to you. So, but the show, and by the way, Cute Underwear looks good. Good job.
Thanks.
We were freezing.
Yeah. But anyway, it was great talking to you. Highly recommend this show on Reverie TV and sign up for it and sign up for the episodes. The people that have put together worked very hard to put the show together. So thank you for talking to us. Is there anything we didn't cover you wanted to include?
Oh, what else do we need to talk about?
I was actually thinking when you were talking about queer stuff that our entire core team are all queer people.
Okay.
So our producer, Ruby, Rehana Wilson, our two directors, Christopher Stratton and Amanda Tito, and Cole and I, and we're all queer. That's our core team, our core production team. And a lot of the other team also, we worked really hard to be as inclusive as possible to those themes. And so the behind the scenes reflects what's on screen as well, which I think is a really cool way to work.
That's great. It's a whole new world. The younger generation, that when you talk about Will and Grace, they weren't even alive to watch Will and Grace in broadcast. And then some of them have not watched it in reruns. And so, I'm of the generation of when that show broadcast, that was a game changer in normalizing homosexuality into our culture. And so we are so lucky now to be able to have fun shows like this and content and, those kinds of shows that broke the ice for us and breaking the content. So this is such a fun show. The last question I always ask people on every show is, what words of encouragement could you give people during this challenging time? So I'll let either of you jump in for words of encouragement. And sorry to put you on the spot, but
yeah. Well, especially because so many places around the world aren't as fortunate in as fortunate a position as we are in New Zealand. But I guess it's just best to keep in contact with your loved ones, with people part of your community. If you want to create stuff, bounce ideas around. There's no time better than now. I keep seeing on social media and things like TikTok and Instagram, I always think, when do these people have time to do all this stuff? But then I remember, you know what? If you're in lockdown, you've got this time. And so I would, as hard as it is, sometimes it's just use this time as best you can to reach out to people and learn something new and strive for something, an outcome that you can jump onto once all of this is over.
That's good. We've heard that from several people. That's great advice.
Charlene?
Yeah, I would say do whatever makes you happy. And I think that's just the most simple thing. Like during lockdown, some days it was reading a book, other days it was creating like mad, other days it was doing funding applications and dreaming about the future. But I think if it's so hard in the US because it just seems so endless and so hopeless. And I think I struggle a lot because my goal was to get there, and I have a lot of friends over there, and I was making steps to kind of move over. But I do believe that time is on our side, and whatever happens in the future, it won't be stagnant. Things will change. If New Zealand is any example to the rest of the world, things can get better. And if not, then y'all can come shoot stuff here. So.
I love it. I'm going to put up the tab again here so people can see. But Life is Easy. Check it out online and check it out. And we'll look forward to other productions from you guys.
Great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It's been fun. And have a good one. And we'll keep up with you all in New Zealand.
Love